branding and just find out a bit more about his story. So thank you so much for joining me, Peter. How are you?
I'm doing fine. It's around 8 o'clock in the evening, and just had supper, and it's unusual for me to be doing something like this, but let's go for it.
I'm so glad you could join me. This is so very exciting. Because most people who know me know that about 18 months ago, when I decided I was going to start this business, outsourced marketing, and I didn't really know anything about personal branding. It wasn't a word I had bandied around. I listened to a podcast one day and thought, what's this personal branding this guy keeps talking about? This is what I'm doing. So that's when I niched down and thought, nah, rebranding, personal branding is what I do, and looked into it more. Peter, tell me, what's your story? How did you get into personal branding?
Well, I'm actually not even a marketing individual. I'm actually a business development guy. Like, I've always been in business development and operations. And might have been about 11 or 12 years ago, the cold calling just wasn't working, and I was thinking, like, there's got to be a way to attract people, get the inbound stuff working. So I literally, just stooped into my creativity. Social media was, really starting to bubble up. I joined some platforms, and away I went.
That's interesting you say that, because I don't come from a marketing background either. I actually come from a psychology background. So it's very much about the way people think and feel and why they do what they do. Likewise, business development is very much about people to people. So it seems like a natural transition.
Yeah, now, actually, you and I have something in common there, because that's exactly what I studied at university too.
See, there must be something in that.
Sure.
Now, Peter, if we go back to 15-year-old Peter, and obviously you've gone into university and you've studied psychology, personal branding obviously wasn't on your mind at that point either, certainly wasn't on mine. What were you planning to do?
I was actually knee deep in art. I was still at school back in the UK in Lancashire, and I was actually studying for my GCEs. You probably know all about that, coming from the other side of the pond too. And I actually was an artist for all intents and purposes. And lucky enough to have a really great mentor in my art teacher, and I was really working things out with him. This was the least thing on my mind. But I remember the teachers, you're going to do something creative with your life. So I think branding is very close to creative.
Yeah, definitely. What kind of art were you doing? What were you specializing in?
I was actually, at that time, I was actually into animals and birds, and actually painting, like actual paint, I remember when I was even 5-6 years old, I used to be able to draw a bird that looked like a bird. So I knew early on that it was a God-given talent. So I honed it, and I actually ended up going to Bolton Art College in the UK, which is since burnt down to the ground.
Lovely.
Lovely, yeah.
Oh, interesting. I am not artistic in the slightest. I used to actually get my dad to do my art homework, and my art teacher would be so impressed with my homework and used to give me into trouble for messing around in class, because she would bring out my homework and say, look what you can do when you're trying, and you're too busy showing off in class that you can't do anything. And I'm like, no, I really can't do anything. That's just my dad.
Oh boy. Now. That's a crazy story.
It got me through. I didn't take art to a level where I had to be examined, thankfully, because I don't think that would have gone down too well.
Not in the least. Yeah.
I peaked in nursery. So please tell me you're still an artist. You're still painting.
I am. I'm still painting. I'm very active. It's something that I hope to retire to. I actually support. We have a local art school here in Dundas, Ontario, and I support the fundraising and the auctions that they offer. In fact, there's one just coming up in about the second week of April, and I've submitted a piece that I particularly finished for this auction. And I actually sell. surprisingly, I actually sell. I'm actually probably see something in the back there as just behind me. I'm working on a big 3-foot by 4-foot commission, and it's a picture of a village in the south of France, and it's at its early stages, but I'll get to it.
So have you been there, or are you taking this from memory or from a picture? How are you doing this?
I was there in 2017. We traveled to the UK and then into Provence, and stayed in a beautiful village of Roussillon, and then day trips to Gourd and Arles, and obviously I went to see the last place that Vincent van Gogh lived, in the sanatorium there, and that was kind of spooky for me, because he's a guy that I've emulated in my texture style. So
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Oh, I'm so glad you got to do that before this crazy period of down and no travel, etc.
true.
So, Peter, tell me a little bit about how you work with your clients. How does your personal branding work? Because I don't think that personal branding, marketing even, isn't something that's textbook. It's not like a lawyer or an accountant where there's a straight line. You've got to go to university, you've got to have these qualifications, you've got to do it this way. There's not laws and regulations around us in the same way that there are for some professions. How does it work with you? How does someone work with you?
Well, if you followed me at all, you'll see that I have this tagline that says "You are your brand," and that is exactly what I work toward. Is like discovering the personal nuances and unique values associated with the individuals in the company, not necessarily the company, but the individuals.
Yep.
And you'll find that even the CEO of a very large organization has a way about them, has a way of managing, has a way of saying things, has a way of presenting things. And I want to get at that, because that's the unique value that actually connects with people. You can't get away from the fact that people buy from people. So the nuances of human interaction, here again, this psychological mixture comes into play, where you do things because we're triggered to, motivated to, and we should utilize even our smallest talent and expose it. And you'd be surprised what that actually attracts.
Yeah, I'm similar to you, branding people, not businesses. And that's where I kind of came a cropper when I started my business. It was meant to be outsourced marketing. I was going into these businesses. They were normally service providers, so lawyers, accountants, that type thing. And I was just going straight for the key people, for the partners, whoever the firm directors were, etc. And I was just branding them up, because that's all I knew how to do. From a not-for-profit background, I had no money. Like, there was no money in not-for-profit. Like, it doesn't matter. That money always goes back to projects and stuff, but not for marketing it. And to get anything out, it was always the CEO and the president, people like that I had to try and push. I had to build their brands, because if it came out from the organization, it was crickets. If it came out from a person, I could get them on stage, I could get them on the news, I could get them on the radio, you could get some traction for them. You stick a picture even on social media, and that thing's getting 10 times the traction that just a regular stock image was getting. And I had no idea that was what I was doing. It was personal branding. But you're so right, it's that whole branding of the person, not the organization. And I think that's what you've got to do. Like, that's the best ROI you can get for your money, is personal branding. Because unless you're Coca-Cola or one of these big companies that's got millions to just throw on marketing and go in different avenues, you're kind of limited. Your resources will run out.
Yeah, it's true. And even Coca-Cola sold on experience versus taste.
Yep.
Right, because if you walk yourself back, they're not that obvious anymore, because I think there's been regulations against them. But even cigarette advertisements and things like that, it was always about the perfect situation. They're driving the perfect car. You got the perfect model of a girlfriend, and what, the perfect cigarette? Like but that's the way they played with us, right?
Oh yeah, play on the emotions, like anything that gives you goosebumps.
Right.
If you go to a charity event, if it gives you goosebumps, you're like, take my wallet, just take my money. You watch something kind of makes you think twice. Again, you're scrambling to go and find the website so you can buy it. It's very, very much about emotions. And that's what I think I love so much about personal branding, is that if someone's actually true to themselves and they are the best version of themselves, whether that version to me might be terrible and to you it might be amazing. And it's definitely about putting people offside, but also having these people who just are so converted because you're speaking their language. And that's the beauty of it. Whereas you can't do that with a company, because you've got members, you've got stockholders, no, that's not the right word, shareholders, all these different people that are invested in it. So you're speaking on behalf of a company, whereas when it's your personal brand, you're speaking on behalf of yourself. And I love that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And even the shareholders, today are beginning to understand, that if you're going to raise money, like, you've got to raise money for the cause. Like, you can't just like go out and say, oh, well, we're a great little software company and we're going to be amazing at this. And yeah, so there's 1,000 of you lined up behind me waiting for the next dollar. But if you actually connect with people and show them that there's some real value here in being on side with us, people buy into that.
Yeah, and I think Steve Jobs is a brilliant example of that. They got rid of him, they brought him back. The first thing he did was wanted to cut a whole load of lines, but they were also about to go bankrupt. So he knocks on Microsoft's door. Now, you've got to have a really strong brand, great relationships, and be respected to be able to go to the competition like that and for them to hand over money so that your company doesn't go belly under. That's the strength of a personal brand. Like, it's not, Microsoft and Apple don't want the other to do better, but you want to be associated with that person. Like, there's just so much more to it than just a company. And that's what I love about it. That's what gets me all excited about personal branding.
And you should be collaborative too. Like, believe it or not, you cannot do it on your own, because you need an ecosystem to help serve, right? And in all honesty, if you're thinking singular, nothing's going to happen for you. There's no 10 ways to do this or 5 ways to do that. It's an arrangement. You've got to get yourself out there. You've got to stand up on stage, just like you are doing now. It's like speaking, like we are doing now, for that matter, and speaking for ourselves and speaking on behalf of the industry itself, and lining up with the industry and talking about the industry. Very often, my best work isn't even associated with publishing social media posts. It's with engaging in other people's media posts that I get most attraction, because they go, okay, here's somebody that's thought about what I just put out there, and they've been nice enough to say something that's meaningful. And and when you do that, you become the go-to for the people. They go, we can always rely on Peter. He's going to come in and he's going to say something because he's really interested in this topic or this subject matter.
Yeah, always showing up. And I think that it's the same whether it's in person, when you're actually able to go to events. I know we're very lucky here in WA, but for the rest of the world, when you're able to actually go to events, if you're continually showing up, you're in front of the same people over and over again. You're able to add value in those conversations. Same online. If you're adding value to the same types of conversations over and over again, you start to get known for that particular topic that you keep harping on about, which, I think a lot of my clients get really kind of hung up on that. Oh, but I talked about that last week. You can't talk about something every single week. You can have a new take on it. You can have there's a whole range of different things you can talk about within your topic, but you need to keep talking about it. And I think that's one of the hardest things for people when they're gets pretty serious about building their personal brand, is one, actually showing up and putting their face out there. This is your logo, gotta get it out there. But they almost feel like they're being repetitive and they're going to start annoying people. But if you are, those people disappear. But the people who really need to hear it, they'll just be clambering at you because they need it.
True. You have to remember one thing. You shouldn't expect that everyone's going to respond, or anyone, right? Because it's going to be somebody who totally resonates either with you as a person or with the message.
Yep.
And there's a secret actually to boiling down and even making repetitive information of value. And that is, take the sound bites out. Like, and I think you probably do the same, but I know that when I do an interview or a podcast, it may last 30, it may last 60 minutes, but I'm going to take a nugget of gold out of there and I'm going to make something of it. I'm going to repurpose it. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to blow it out on Twitter and on Instagram and then blow it up on YouTube if it's a video, and just keep reworking it. And besides, in a week, people will have forgotten you if you don't come back and remind them about this very important point that you made 7 days ago.
Yeah. Oh no, definitely. It's about showing up consistently, and I mean, everybody's consistency is different. When you're in the marketing branding game, you have to show up a lot because you've got to practice what you preach. But for Joe Blogs, who's running a small business, it's about starting once a week, coming online once a week, then upping that a little bit, because once you start to see things happening, it will work. And you're similar to me. I see your content, it's very much quality over quantity, because I see lots of different challenges where it's like, oh, post every day for this year. Well, I'm not going to post every day because I know I don't have something of value to post every single day. I'll come on every day because I will definitely be engaging with someone else's content, but I don't have something to say every single day. Not that's worth listening to.
Well, based on my setup, I fortunately have something to say every day on behalf of myself and my clients. So, because I do manage the entire scope and strategy behind it, which involves actually even generating leads for the customers, right? I'm tied to revenue. End of story. And that's why I really get this. I'm not caught up in the arts and the science of it, even though I enjoy it. I'm not caught up in that. I'm caught up in the fact that I want to create a relationship, a friendship, whereby somebody will actually reach out and say, you know what, I really enjoyed that. I'd like to know more about it. And where do I go from here?
Yeah, and that's the best part of it, isn't it, really? Because you're commercializing yourself, you're commercializing your personal brand, which you take everywhere with you. And it doesn't matter whether it's your business or whether, you're employed, that stays with you, which is fantastic. I mean, I've been talking a lot on Instagram this week with people, actually for the whole month, about social proof and being able to gather as much as you can, because you gather it now and it stays with you. It doesn't stay with the company. It doesn't stay with anyone else. It stays with you. And it's something that's a third party that's actually saying, you know what, Megan's good, Megan's worth working with, which has got so much more value. Like I call it the cement of your personal brand, is all that third party. We need all of that. There's just, it's not linear. It's not just I've done a post and I've showed up and I've talked about LinkedIn today, so I'm now the LinkedIn person. There's so many intricacies to it, so it's fun.
Yeah. There are the nuances of social are that you should be social. And that's all there is to it. Like, for God's sake, say hello to somebody. Like, connect with somebody. Like, it doesn't work on its own. You've got to, it manifests itself because you've actually gone out and done something about it. You can't just keep posting pictures of, great things. Like, for that matter, you just do cats. Do kitty pictures every day, and you'll get all kinds of likes and all kinds of follows, but it won't get you any business.
Yeah, no, definitely. Now, what platform do you spend most of your time on? Are you on is LinkedIn your main platform?
LinkedIn is massive for me. I have it integrated with Twitter because those two things work really beautifully together.
Yeah.
I spend a little less time on Facebook because my clients aren't all on there. I mean, they're more business to business rather than business to consumer. and are usually selling services as opposed to products, which
Yep.
is a little ambiguous, right? So I don't think a lot of people get that on Facebook. Instagram, I mean, I am on all of them. I'm actually even on TikTok, believe it or not, because what I end up doing is I love the fun variety sense that you can get from TikTok, and then I repurpose it on my other platforms for fun.
Yeah.
But that also tells people that I'm not a stuck-up, stuffed shirt kind of guy, right?
Yeah.
Regardless of what you see here, the IBM's suit and and what have you. That's not it. That's not that important. I really show people, yes, I get up every day, I work out every day, I go have fun. Yeah, I go spend weekends in the park and all that. Like, that's what people are buying into, is the real you, and you are your brand when you do it that way.
Yeah, I like that because I think it's really important. It makes you 3D. I mean, I love LinkedIn. LinkedIn for me is definitely my money-making network. It's where I get my big clients from. Instagram, I'll get a few, but it's not my big clients. But I just love it. And I still know that a lot of the people who work with me on LinkedIn are also checking me out on Instagram because it's real. It's a little bit more fun. LinkedIn is a little bit more curated. As much as I try and make it as personal, because it's all about the personal branding, etc., it still is a little bit more curated than Instagram. So I like to use them hand in hand. I have Twitter. Twitter's not a thing over here in Australia. It just never took off, apart from in agriculture. So the farmers are very loyal to Twitter because it was the only platform that they could use at one point that they had enough signal, connectivity to be able to use. So they still use it. So yeah.
Interesting. Well, I've been long with LinkedIn, because when LinkedIn first came out, I was actually in executive recruitment. So you can imagine what I thought when my friend came back from California and said, Peter, I met this guy, this Reed guy, and he's got this really cool thing, and it's like resumes on steroids. This is what he said to me, and I said, bring it on, right? I'm an executive recruiter. I need access, right? Because I was a total headhunter. I was a real headhunter. I literally went after the passive client. So when I saw this, I lost it. Sign me up. I'm going, right? And so, but it's been nice to see how it's transformed now. And it's a showcase for people. It's, I look at it as probably the largest trade show in the world, with all kinds of special booths, and you can go visit, you can check in. You don't have to sign up to anything. People, there's a massive passive audience out there that if you just got to keep trying, because I know that something you do is going to just click one day, and they find you, right?
I'm a massive fan of LinkedIn, especially at the moment. I think the organic reach is massive. It's a digital extension of yourself. And like you said, there's that massive gap in the middle, because you've got 700 million people who are signed up to use the platform. You've only got 3 million that are actually creating content. So if you're creating content, you've got a lot of eyes on your content, because most people, like you said, they're passive. I have umpteen conversations with people who I have got no idea went near my content. I see them in person and they'll tell me about something I've posted because they've consumed it. They'll have listened to a podcast or watched one of the LinkedIn lives, because they're just not, it's not like Instagram where people are double tapping because they want to like something and they're commenting, oh, you look fabulous, or love that dress. It's not that kind of platform. They look at it, they consume it, they move on. And I think that's what's amazing about LinkedIn. I created a Build Your Personal Brand on LinkedIn platform program. which has been really popular because it's not about the I'll get you your first 10,000 in the week if you just follow these tips. It's like, no, you know what, branding takes a while, might take 3 to 6 months, but things will start happening. You just need to set yourself up like a landing page. You need to make sure that you've ticked all these boxes and get going with it, because I think if you're starting now, it's not impossible to have some traction on other platforms, but they are saturated. LinkedIn's not. LinkedIn's open slather.
True. And actually, even if you take the time to build yourself a corporate page, it's better than a website, because instead of just being a repository for stale information, it's active information that's live that people are interacting with. And so it's a better backlink than most websites. I mean, web developers probably hate for me to be speaking like this, but the reality is I actually don't have a website. To me, that's a total waste of time, because if I'm going to position myself as a personal branding strategist, and I want to be living in social, I don't want to have to be spending administrative time updating a blog, updating an article on my website. That's a waste of time. I want to be busy engaging with people. And you can do that from your corporate site in conjunction with a personal site. And that allows you some leverage even between the two profiles. So, and that from the way you process your work. I see that.
Yeah, I don't actually use my business page that much because I just don't feel it has the same reach. But I do see value in a website only because it's our owned media. Like, you own that. I think that LinkedIn is rented ground. All of the platforms are rented ground.
That's a great point.
And I love them, and don't get me wrong, like, I get value from LinkedIn, but if they turned it off tomorrow, or they changed the algorithm majorly, or of these 700 million people that are using it, everyone just suddenly woke up and started posting content, I wouldn't have that same cut through that I have at the moment. And that might eventually happen, because it certainly has happened on Facebook. I remember about 10 years ago, I started my first business back in Scotland, and it was an events business because that's what I wanted to do. And I set up a Facebook for this business that I was going to start. And of a town that had 6,000 people, I had over 3,000 followers on this. And then the next thing, my business evolved into social media. So I had half the town I was looking after their Facebook pages, and they were growing. They were going massive, gangbusters. This was just taking off. I can tell you right now, I can hardly do anything on Facebook unless you pay for it. Like, you've got to pay for the privilege of being seen. It's just a completely different place. And that was 10 years ago. LinkedIn will do the same. Like, we've got a few more years in it, hopefully, but then we'll be on to the next thing. It's
you're totally right.
Yeah, I think I'm risk averse, so I like to have my eggs in a few baskets. But like you, LinkedIn, where I get the most traction. Like, I don't get that kind of traction on my website. You can't. It's not got as high authority. Like you said, your business page is more likely to be found than your website because high authority. Google likes it so much better. But I'm just always wary. What if it gets turned off or something changes?
Well, we've had some hiccups, and in fact, just a few weeks ago, it was off for 20 minutes. It went down because they were doing an upgrade of some sort, and couldn't stand the weight of the effort, and like people went bananas, including myself, because you can imagine, like, I'm tied to it for a range of clients. So I was jumping on Twitter and I was saying, "Okay, LinkedIn," like, and I put the screaming, the screaming voice, "What's wrong?"
Luckily I slept through it. That's the benefit of being on the other side of the world.
Oh man!
I woke up to this and I was like, "What's happened? What's this chaos about?" And it was all fine by the time I got up. But like, social media, it's a strange one. It's so fantastic, but can you have all your eggs in one basket? Not sure. I mean, I know of a girl who she's one of my friend's clients, and she has a wool produce. So she makes things out of animal products. And Facebook was her biggest marketplace, I guess you could say, what she was using to market herself. And because Facebook not that long ago changed things so that you couldn't do anything that exploits animals or any animal products and stuff like that, basically overnight she lost her marketplace and had to start again.
So they shut her down. They actually closed it down just based on rules.
Yeah. And, you know, we had that over here a couple of weeks ago as well, when our government had a bit of a fight with Facebook, and all of our news channels just disappeared, which, you know, news channels, that's one thing, but a lot of our emergency services did as well, because they came under the same, you know, news banner. And that's where it's dangerous, because a lot of our small local communities depend on them. So they can do it. You know, we've seen it in action. Like down here, in Australia, I've seen it in action, where I woke up one morning and, you know, there was just half the pages had disappeared on Facebook. You could go on to them and it just said no content. So they can do what they like, and they can change rules, and they're a business. At the end of the day, they are a business. They can do whatever they want that's going to work best for them. But yeah, to have having a balance, you know, that in person, that social media, that website, that email list. I mean, it's a massive list. Where do you start and where do you stop?
Yeah, no, I mean, you have to do a little of something. I liken it to the advice that I used to give when I was in the recruitment business. Like, you have to do a little of everything. Don't expect me, the recruiter, to get everything together for you. Like, I need you networking. I need you sending out resumes. I need you, building a profile on a PDF or something and mailing it out. And I almost need you standing on the corner yelling if that makes sense, because no one thing is actually going to do it for you. Like you said, I like the fact of aggregating it across a number of different platforms is a really great idea.
Yeah, and it works in real life as well, because that's where people start to feel like you're everywhere. People will comment, "You're everywhere. What social butterfly?" No, I'm at home quite a lot, but sure as hell looks like I'm everywhere.
Well, I'm definitely home. We're in still kind of like we just came out of lockdown. Like, I was able to go out, get a haircut last week, which is great. So I don't even know what they call that anymore. It might even still be called red zone. I don't know. Red, green, orange. I don't know. They've got so many colors for it. I'm waiting for the green light, I guess. That's what I'm waiting
Yes.
for.
Oh, I can't wait for the day. I'm just hopeful that this vaccine is going to start opening things up a bit, and we can all be a little bit. Yes, it's not been a pleasant time to be around.
No, not at all. And there's a lineup for that too. I mean, right now you have to go online and register, and so you can imagine the wait and the bandwidth with like everybody and his dog is just jumping online, just trying to squeeze an appointment in to get jabbed.
Yeah, and I don't think it's as extreme over here, unless you've got family overseas. I don't know that there's that same rush, because we are so safe here that I don't think anyone's got any intention of going anywhere unless they have to. Yeah, so it's just a completely different world. Like, we are so lucky over here, been very, very lucky. So, Peter, what's next for you, and how can people get in touch with you?
I'm business as usual. I'm actually I'm kind of, what's that? My lip just got stuck to my tongue. Don't you love live? I'm actually still evolving. I've gone to got a little bit more aggressive with my podcast this year. It's a commitment that I made because I want to showcase people, and I want to show my clients that it just takes a little effort. Even if I have to help you, give you a leg up, because that's exactly what you pay me for, that we're going to get you out into the market. I'm aggressively attached to LinkedIn. I'm there every day. I live in the domain. I have a Twitter account that's whose handle is Arts and Clouds. Arts, very obvious. Clouds, cloud computing. Plus, I love clouds because they're very unsettling kind of thing. Like in a slight variance in the weather, and it could be rain, it could be snow. I like the uncertainty that they create, and yet they're still beautiful. I'm on, like I said, every platform, and my email is real simple. It's peterg@youareyourbrand.ca, and you can get right to me. I mean, I do some mentoring, for young up and coming entrepreneurs, and so I mean, I'm just, I'm at the stage in life. I'm full of advice, and it's free advice, and I do give away a lot of my good stuff, but hey, that's what I'm here for.
I love that. And that's your choice, and that is your right to do whatever you want.
Right. Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Peter. I've really enjoyed our chat. I obviously love chatting to someone who talks my language, because personal branding is my thing, and I love it. And it might be fairly new to me in terms of terminology, but I've definitely been doing it for quite a while, and I love being able to pull it apart with anyone who'll listen. So
well,
thank you.
You've embraced it really well, which is fantastic. I love your energy and vibe around it.
Thank you so much. So everyone who's listening, I will put Peter's links in the show notes, and you'll be able to get in touch with him, and you can go and check out his podcast as well. Thanks so much, Peter.